through the facilities of the New York Network, State University of New York, Governor Hugh L. Carey's fourth annual message to the legislature comes to you live from the Assembly Chamber at the Capitol in Albany. The governor's address marks the beginning of the 1978 session of the State Senate and Assembly and will outline Governor Carey's plan of action for New York State in the coming year.
Will the members please take their chairs and establish order in the chamber? Will all staff members please leave the floor of the chamber? Pursuant to a resolution adopted in each of the houses of the legislature, the Senate and Assembly are met in joint session to receive the annual message to the legislature from the Governor of the State of New York. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Majority Leader, ladies and gentlemen of the legislature, it is my privilege to present our Governor, Governor Hugh L. Carey.
Lieutenant Governor Krupsak, Speaker Steingart, Majority Leader Anderson, Mr. Controller, Mr. Attorney General, members of the Judiciary, members of the honorable bodies, Your Excellency Bishop Hubbard, and ladies and gentlemen of the State of New York. I have the honor to present to your honorable bodies my fourth message on the condition of our state. Today I stand before you with the confidence formed of our common experience of the past 3 years. As guide to our future, we have an obligation to seek the lessons of these 3 years. In 1975, this government and other governments of our state were the captives of our creditors. We caught the eye of the nation, but from high places we heard views of doubt and talk of default and disaster. We faced reality. We made the hard choices and won the time to carry forth the plan for our own redemption. Those were grim days, but we are New Yorkers, and we knew there would come a good day. In 1976, accepting austerity in accordance with our plan, we shouldered our burdens and balanced our budget. To a state that had no credit, credit was restored. Those were days of struggle and sacrifice, but we are New Yorkers, and we planned for a better day. Last year, I told you, we had been through the worst of times. We were now able to plan for more than mere survival. We dare not, and we did not, discard those careful constraints on the cost and size of state government that secured our new condition. Instead, we carefully assessed the causes of our old condition, and we moved in a new direction. That charted course has taught us that the future of this state lies not in needless public spending, but in private growth. The tax reduction we achieved in 1977 was a sign and symbol of the new direction for the people of this great state. And now, as New Yorkers, we can do more than plan. We can produce and provide for better days and better years. Therefore, today, I call upon you to join me in a common commitment. Let us make 1978 the best of years for our people. Let us produce for the people no larger government than their needs require. Let us produce the means for greater growth in jobs and incomes for our people. Nothing less is worthy of this great state. In 1978, I intend to work with you to achieve the next round of annualized tax reductions for our people. Let us build further on that cornerstone of less taxation. These are the lessons of the past 3 years. Throughout these times, we have shown we could put aside partisanship and work together for the future of the people of New York. You here in the legislature, and those in labor and management, in the public and private sectors, those who responded to the call for a common commitment, are responsible for our accomplishments. Lieutenant Governor Mary Anne Krupsak and I together want to thank you and each of those who helped for your critical efforts. No matter how difficult the times, we did not neglect our responsibilities to the people. We built a record of achievement. We saved the largest city of our state. We show that Albany is the ally of every local government. We help those localities in severe distress, as we always will. We showed by our example that dividends come from a credibly balanced budget. We achieved constitutional amendments for court reform. We put people back to work through an accelerated construction program. We reformed the management of our welfare and Medicaid programs. We acted through executive order and legislation to protect and extend the rights of women and all those who suffer discrimination in our society. We improved the best and most comprehensive health care system in the nation. We did all these things together, and for that, we are stronger. We did them well, and for that, we are gratified. And we did much more. We made our own decisions, and we won the right to share the rewards of a more certain future. In 3 years, we have come from crisis to confidence. Because we are steadfast in crisis and dedicated in renewal, we have won the right to wear what the poet called the befitting emblems of adversity. We are New Yorkers, and for us, survival is not enough. We know that in the human condition, there has to be a better way to earn, a better way to build, a better way to learn, a better way to care. There is nothing more important to the people of our state than the means to provide for themselves. When government taxes people beyond reason, it unjustly reduces real wages and impairs the economy. My goal is to continue to reduce the level of taxation in New York and return money to the people. Lower taxes are an indispensable part of our plan for a better life for all New Yorkers. The executive budget I will present to you on January 17 will continue tax reduction within the context of a credibly balanced state budget. First, I will propose a reduction in the personal income tax of $500 million. This will increase the income of every individual taxpayer. These tax cuts are in addition to the $200 million reduction in the personal income tax we achieved together last year. Second, I will propose that the temporary surcharges on corporations and banks be eliminated for a $150 million tax saving. I will also propose a series of new measures that will result in a reduction of $100 million in the tax burdens carried by business and industry in our state. With these proposals, we will make New York a more attractive place for business and a better place to work. These reductions are in addition to those we enacted last year, which returned $65 million to industries critical to New Yorkers. This program is a result of 3 years of planning and effort. We have moved from the billion-dollar spending increases of past years to annual reductions in the cost of government. We have moved from the hidden budget deficits of the past to a balanced budget and to the achievement of major tax relief over 2 years. This is a better way for New York, a fulfillment of our plan for our future. It is relief that will multiply several times, stimulate our economy, and protect the jobs of our people. But there is more to be done. There are other ways for government to spur economic development. This year, I will propose funds for the Urban Development Corporation to build and lease new facilities for business. I will propose funding for essential economic development projects. These will include a runway extension at Stewart Field, a container port at Red Hook in Brooklyn, a coal transshipment center at Buffalo, and port improvements at Albany and Oswego and Ogdensburg. The best ambassador for New York State is Lieutenant Governor Krupsak. I urge her to continue her efforts to build and rebuild New York's regional economies and provide more jobs. Because I recognize that the availability of reasonably priced energy is essential to our economic survival, I will propose an energy master plan for New York, compatible and consistent with our environmental concerns. We will explore ways to advance resource recovery technology in order to convert waste materials to power generations. We will continue our support for tourism in our state, and 1977 was the best year in history. I said here last year that I would take every possible step to ensure that the facilities for the 1980 Winter Olympics will be in place and on time, and they will be. Agriculture is basic to New York's economy, and New York's family farms are basic to agriculture. This year, we will expand our efforts to preserve our valuable farmlands and market farm products. Millions of people now know that grown in New York means the best there is because our programs have succeeded. As we rebuild our economy, we must be mindful of the housing needs of our citizens. Community participation in the preservation of our neighborhoods is essential. I will propose additional funds for this effort. Financial institutions must participate in this process. We must end redlining. Discrimination by geography is no less abhorrent to me than any other form of discrimination. I will not tolerate it. I will also submit legislation to establish a mortgage guarantee corporation and to offer tax credits for lending institutions making investments in inner city areas. I want more of the money of New York deposited, invested in New York State. I will submit legislation to stabilize our state and municipally assisted middle-income housing programs through a long-term financial commitment by this state. The quality of our life is dependent on freedom from the fear of crime. We must provide a system of public justice that is swift and sure. Our courts too often have been reduced to shabby marketplaces where rape and robbery cases are barred. Too often violent criminals are put back on the streets where they commit other crimes. The police are frustrated because arrests are often little more than a ritual. Stiffer penalties for crime can be one part of that answer, but not the whole answer. It is foolish and deceptive to argue that our courts will be made more effective only by legislating greater penalties. Rather, we must do the tough work of improving and perfecting the day-to-day administration of criminal justice. Those who commit rape, murder, armed felonies, arson, and other crimes of similar violence must be the targets of swift and sure justice. we have already created new courts in a special detainee program to provide speedy prosecution in criminal cases. The success of this program is dramatic. The conviction rate has been 85%. The median sentence has been 10 years, and the number of trials held in these 9 courts have been almost double the normal rate. These results, when multiplied throughout the state, will deter crime. This year, we will add 20 new trial courts throughout the state to provide swift justice for those who commit violent crimes. High priority will be given to offenses against the elderly and infirm. Our intensive attack on violent crime will be expanded upstate and downstate. We will make New York safe again. On numerous occasions, I have spoken plainly of my opposition to the penalty of death. I understand that the level of criminal violence in our society leads to a desire for vengeance. But it is my belief that the state must not make its laws a vehicle for ultimate and irreversible vengeance. I want strong sanctions against the worst crimes. I will propose legislation to give a jury the power to impose life sentences without parole on those convicted of crimes of violence resulting in death. Those vicious criminals will never again be free to prey on innocent people. The rights of our citizens to safety in their homes and on their streets will only be assured when all elements of the state's criminal justice system function consistently and effectively. That is why I have made unrelenting efforts to secure court reform, efforts our people approved on our last election day. I again propose that you present for the people's approval merit selection of well-qualified judges to all courts of the state and establishment of a single statewide trial court. The strength of our society also depends on our success in meeting the needs of children. To fail to meet these needs is to waste our future. That is not the way of a compassionate society, and that is not our way in New York. I have directed the newly formed Council on Children and Families to develop specific proposals for early intervention to help children achieve their full potential. I will submit legislation to give us added flexibility in providing services to children with special needs and to control the placement of children in out-of-state facilities. This year, I will propose a formula to increase substantially the state share of local public school expenditures for severely handicapped children. I will request funds for special education for the learning disabled, children with disabilities that are difficult to diagnose, such as dyslexia or brain damage. Particular attention must be paid to the problems of children who need special help to benefit from regular classroom instruction. This year, I will propose a new program designed to respond to the special needs of these children in urban and rural areas. As I have said before, we must find a better way to support the state system of public schools. This year, I will again propose changes in our education aid formula, and I will recommend increased assistance to those poorer districts most in need of help. Of great importance is continued state support of our non-public schools. This year, I will recommend textbook funding modifications that will benefit children in public and non-public schools. My executive budget will include a new funding formula for community colleges and funds for maintaining the quality of the city and state university systems. And it will include an increase in the state tuition assistance program. I will also submit legislation to establish a parent and savings student plan, a plan for both parents alike and students to enable them to meet the cost of education. Through the PASS plan, we can provide incentives for parents to plan for their children's education and help them avoid the crushing burden of college expenses. Later this session, I will deliver my third State of the Health message. I will propose expansion of ambulatory care programs and continued efforts to redirect our health care capabilities. I want to assure religious and other groups that their rights to adequate and convenient access to maternity care will not be impaired. I look forward to another year of cooperative effort to find better ways of health care for all of our citizens. Meeting the needs of our nearly 3 million senior citizens is a critical concern of this administration. As part of my program for tax relief and to help the elderly maintain their homes, I will propose special tax reductions for low-income elderly individuals and families threatened by rising property taxes. This property tax circuit breaker for the elderly will be available to both renters and homeowners and means better days for elderly New Yorkers. We will increase state funds to encourage community services for the elderly. I will ask for your support for increases in SSI payments to individuals for senior citizens who will require care in institutions. Many citizens are concerned about the movement of mentally ill patients into community settings. I will propose appropriations to expand follow-up services for patients discharged from state psychiatric centers. Better lives for our mentally ill and mentally retarded citizens are dependent on more than government programs. These people from our families and neighborhoods need understanding and compassion, and I hope you will join me in a special effort to encourage community acceptance of these people who need our help. Through careful and prudent management at the state level, we have assured savings for local governments. We have reduced ineligibility rates for public assistance recipients and lowered Medicaid costs. This means savings for our counties and for New York City. Last year, local governments received general assistance from the state in the form of revenue sharing and emergency aid to our cities. This year, I propose to continue and fully fund both these programs and use a share of federal counter-cyclical assistance to fund a new program of aid to counties with demonstrated needs. I will also recommend additional local assistance increases, including funds to assume 1/2 the share of local court costs and funds for a new program of municipal street improvements. To help save New York City, this legislature created the Municipal Assistance Corporation and the Emergency Financial Control Board. Both agencies have worked well. You charge me, along with other officials, with the conduct of the affairs of the Control Board. By the terms of the statute, the Control Board will expire this year. We must work together with the new city administration to establish a successor agency. The city has made much progress, and under its new leadership, it should not fail to regain its health and balance its budget, as this state has done. That action by the city should entitle it to access to the credit it needs in the long term. As I have done before, I will see to it that neither New York City nor any other locality of this state does not fail, because it is our job to secure this state against the impact of any insolvency. With modest federal aid, we did that in 1975. And since such aid is clearly needed again, I will fight to secure that aid. Three years ago, we challenged the tired and dangerous assumptions of the past. Because we did, we can look ahead today to our year of opportunity, and we can issue new challenges for the future. We challenge the idea that our political system cannot provide swift and sure justice for criminals. We must reduce crime in New York State, and we will win that challenge. We challenge the idea that government, management, and labor cannot work together to provide jobs. We will win that challenge to provide work for every willing person in New York State. We challenge the cynicism that says humane and compassionate programs for the sick, disabled, and needy cannot be well managed. We will do the work of healing in this state with care and compassion and without waste. Let no one challenge that. We challenge the idea that governments always get larger and cost more. For 3 years and now a fourth, we have fought that challenge. In this fourth year, we will win. We have met these challenges and more. 50 years ago today, Governor Al Smith stood in this chamber and said, "It means something to say, 'I live in New York.'" That phrase captures the strength and resilience of our people. And now, as New Yorkers who have been tried and tested, who are wiser and tougher than ever before, we can say much more. I pledge myself as governor to work with this legislature in 1978 so that we can have the best of our years together. I ask the blessings of Almighty God upon our work so that when it is ended, our people will be able to say, not only, "I live in New York," but "I love New York. I love New York." Thank you, and God bless you.
From the Assembly Chamber at the Capitol in Albany, Governor Hugh L. Carey has presented his fourth annual message to the legislature before a joint session of the State Senate and Assembly. This program came to you live through the facilities of the New York Network, State University of New York.